Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about April 22nd, 2020, New Moon in Taurus, Part 2 of 2. Now, what I want to get at, I want to talk about it being at the third degree, and as far as Sabian symbols, what it could mean. Now, it could be an acerbic and acrimonious degree, so you need to be careful at this time. This could manifest in volatile behavior that might wind up being tied into one's undoing and really self-inflicted sorrow. I mean, if you have this, say, in the 12th house, this could really reinforce and reaffirm something that may happen, which is tied into one's self-undoing, something that is figuratively like self-inflicted, basically. But at the same time, this could be very auspicious and beneficial for a position in doing something related to artwork, which could cover a wide divergence of things such as drawing, painting, sculpting, graphic art design. As I talked about in the previous video, is that, I mean, especially if you have this, say, especially in the 2nd, 6th, or 10th house, which I regard, I mean, we see as one of the work houses, one of the money/work houses in astrology, that could really increase that possibility for beginning something in terms of something artistic. And the thing about this too is, in the fact that you're talking about, being an acrimonious degree for Taurus and perhaps volatile behavior, this could be, as I was talking about in the previous video, that we're going to have the sun. You're going to have, of course, I mean, the new moon in Taurus, of course, is when the sun is conjunct the moon, but you're going to have a conjunct Uranus as well, and this is about it could be a strong focus on the future. And remember that this is also could be a beginning, of course, being the new moon, for something new. But if something doesn't work out, just be careful not to let any anger get the better of you. If there's something that you're aspiring to do, maybe related to this new moon in Taurus, that because we already have enough friction going on with this coronavirus situation, it's very easy for one to become even more exasperated at this time, more so than usual. So, and the thing about this too is that, I mean, you're also at this point in time. I mean, keep in mind the volatile behavior, and if I'm not mistaken, transit Chiron is in. Right now, it's in the United States 4th house, Chiron in Aries. You might want to confirm that, but I believe it is in the as far as the Sagittarius rising chart for the U.S. And right there, that right there, that shows a stronger propensity for volatile actions, suffering wounds from volatile behavior in one's home. I think we're going to see a proliferation of domestic violence, a lot of it attributed to this coronavirus and people being at home, where the familiarity breeds contempt. But anyway, going back to this new moon in Taurus, remember, when you have a new moon in astrology, the other transits may be intensified and amplified as well, because they're taking place concurrently, simultaneously, when this new moon is occurring. Now, as far as electional transits, we're going to have a very good transit, actually. It's going to take place between transit Mars in Aquarius will trine Venus in Gemini at this time. And the thing about this is this could manifest in a very strong drive for freedom and independence, of course, indicated by the Mars in Aquarius. And of course, and it might even be through working 2 jobs, or making money through more than one job, and doing things, multitasking, perhaps doing things more than one thing, maybe simultaneously. I think this is a good period for a lot of that energy, that drive injected into freedom and independence and fun. And maybe at this time, this could be an indicator that this confinement attributed to this coronavirus might be starting to be on its way out. And keep in mind, we're going to have Pluto is going to go retrograde on April 26, 2020. So shortly after we have this new moon in Taurus, we might see a strong regression in this virus, because of course Pluto can be associated with viruses, and we might see really about the fact that it's falling in the United States second house. And again, I'm talking about the Sagittarius rising chart of the U.S. This could be about a reclamation of one's power, reclaiming one's power, perhaps being the second house, being with the economy at this time. And of course, the fact it's in Capricorn is like it's very strongly, of course, government related. So anyway, now another thing to look at is that transits to by other astrological energy at this time of the new moon, 2 points in your natal chart, may be intensified and amplified as well, because they are occurring when you have the new moon, and that energy could be stronger than usual. Now, the fact is, there's one thing that's happening with me, is that I've noticed that I'm going to have the transit North Node in Cancer very close to my natal Mercury in Cancer at this time. So when you're talking about transits in astrology, transits involving the North Node in astrology, they can be about issues that one may have to confront or address. And since we're talking about the North Node in Cancer being involved in contacting Mercury in Cancer, this could be about some issues I may have to confront and address at this time regarding matters where I'm just thinking about what's safe and secure. And the fact that Mercury is in my second house, it could be about over things of a monetary nature, not really maybe having difficulty going outside the box, thinking just about what's close to home, what feels safe and what's close to home with me, maybe some complacency in thinking. Now it gets to what else I've noticed too is that I'm going to also have at this time transit Saturn in Aquarius is going to make a tight in conjunct to my natal Mercury in Cancer. So that's another thing that's in a transit that could be significant, that's involving my Mercury in Cancer. Now, when you're talking about in conjuncts in astrology, they can be about adjustments. Now, and what it could be is it could be too much of one thing on one end of the aspect, or too much of another on one end of the aspect. It can manifest in not having balance and equilibrium between the two astrological energies involved. Now, given that we're talking about Saturn, Aquarius, and Mercury in Cancer, it can be about an adjustment. It might be, maybe I'm going to be emphasizing too much responsibility toward being progressive, toward the future, versus thinking, which is Mercury in Cancer, thinking about safety and security. Well, and the thing about it is, or it might simply go the other way as well. It might be where my mind is too much dominated by the past, considering it's the zodiac sign Cancer, and not taking the responsibility or working hard toward the future and using and working laboriously toward moving forward. So those are some ways this could manifest and pan out. And the fact that this aspect, transit aspect, the transit Saturn Aquarius, it making it in conjunct to my Mercury in Cancer, another way this may manifest and pan out. It could sometimes be involved being too skeptical or too overly pessimistic. Mercury in Cancer at times can manifest the natal chart, one that becomes overly melancholy or dejected regarding issues of society and their own dilemmas, becoming despondent regarding their own dilemmas. And what I have to remember is, if I'm dominated by those thoughts, it's going to be difficult to move forward and work hard, work laboriously toward moving forward and toward my future. And that's the transit Saturn Aquarius. Interestingly enough, it's in my 10th house of career, so that could also emphasize more responsibilities to perhaps an astrological career. So in any way, that's basically what I wanted to get at as far as this part 2 segment goes. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my take on the April 22nd, 2020 New Moon in Taurus, part 2 of 2. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.